welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be all about artifact farming and everything you need to know about how to farm artifacts more efficiently so that you're not spending all this useless time in domains and that you're saving your resin on characters that you really want to build and not just spending all your resin on artifacts and them ending up in bad rolls. I have a lot of tips prepared for you all. These are all some mistakes that I made in the past and I hope that you can learn from some of them. As usual, timestamps are in the description if you want to skip to a specific part of the video, but other than that, let's get started. So as you may or may not have experienced, artifact farming is a very lengthy task. Getting the right artifacts that you want to get for the characters can take so much time and you're gonna need a lot of luck as well. However, I did come up with a few strategies that help me with my artifact farming so that I'm spending less time in the same domain and also so I can save a lot of my resin and spend it on characters that I really need to. The first thing that I like to do before starting to build my character is I like to plan builds on who I'm going to build at the same time. Sometimes if I get two new characters or more than one character at a time, I like to prioritize who I want to use and build first if I want to build those two. An example of that would be Neuvillette and Farina because I got them around the same time. Now the reason why I chose to build them together was actually because their artifacts come from the same domain. If you aren't already aware, Neuvillette and Farina's artifacts best in slot come from this domain right here, where if you do the domain you can either get this one with the Marechaussee Hunter or Golden Troop. Now I like to organize my builds so that when I'm doing one domain, I'm farming for two characters. This way I'm spending less time on farming a domain. Instead of building someone like Farina and Navia at the same time, where Navia needs artifacts from this domain and Farina needs artifacts from this domain, it helps me plan a lot and save a lot of time when it comes to artifact farming, since not all domains are easy if you are part of the lower ranked adventurers. However, if you are at that stage where clearing artifact domains under 30 seconds is a normal thing for you, then the time you spend in artifact domains probably does not matter as much. But for those who do want to minimize the time they spend in artifact domains, it's always better to choose one artifact domain that grants two different artifacts for two characters that you want to build at the same time. If you're still confused about what I mean, here's another example. The domain Slumbering Court gives two artifacts that are both used for characters that I own: the Husk of Opulent Dreams and the Ocean-Hued Clam, the husk for Albedo and the clam for Kokomi. Which is why I chose to build Albedo and Kokomi around the same time, because both of their artifact sets are available. However, I do understand that not all artifact domains are like this, such as the Valley of Remembrance where they have the Viridescent Venerer, and Maiden's Beloved, where you probably might only be farming for one of those artifact sets, such as if you're farming for Kazuha and don't have anyone to put the maidens on. This is one of those cases where if you really don't have another character that could use the other artifact, then you can go ahead and choose this domain. But in order to really maximize your time, it's best that you choose two characters to build at once that use the same artifact domain. Or if you are pre-farming for a guaranteed character in terms of artifacts, and I really express guaranteed, which means you are going to get them no matter what, then you can pre-farm their artifacts along with the one you're trying to farm. If what I said didn't make sense, here's an example of that. So if you're currently building your Raiden Shogun and you're farming the Emblem of Severed Fate domain, then obviously that's the one to do. But also, if you do plan on getting Yoimiya and you are guaranteed, or any other character that uses the Shimenawa's set, then that is when you could do that artifact domain, but only if you're guaranteed, because you don't want to be spending resin just on pre-farming. This way, you're not wasting any of your time and you're getting artifacts that are still useful to you. Things like this domain, the Faded Theater, the reason I'm not farming it is because I only have Chlorand that can use one of the artifact sets here and the other one can't really go to anybody, so that's why it's not my priority to do those artifacts at the time. Just make sure that you are planning who you're building and you're not just building anybody so that you can maximize your resin use and also your time. The next tip that I have is specifically about the artifact strongbox. So I'm pretty sure you already know that if you go to this crafting bench here, there is going to be this third category for artifact strongbox. If you don't know what this is, you can basically offer 3 5-star artifacts and get one of a specific kind. These artifacts listed here are all the available sets that you can farm for. So at the moment you can farm up to Golden Troop and Marechaussee Hunter and all the other sets from previously. However, the downside to this is that you have to offer 3 5-star artifacts, and if you are someone that does not have a lot of 5-star artifacts, this might not be the best trade ever. This method does not guarantee which piece you get. You can get a feather, a flower, goblet, circlet, or sands, and also it does not guarantee that that piece will be better than those 3 that you offered. It only guarantees the set that you're going to get. Now you might ask, when is the right time to use it? And I have an answer for you. If you are in one of those situations where the domain only has one artifact set that you want and the other is completely useless to you, this this is when you'd want to use the artifact strongbox. For example, I have been farming Navia's domain, and obviously I only need Nighttime Whispers in the Echoing Woods, and I don't need Song of Days Past. Now, instead of completely throwing these away, I do put them in the strongbox because I want to try and get Emblem of Severed Fate artifacts to rebuild my Raiden. So at the end of a long week of farming artifacts, or some amount of time when I have a lot of artifacts to put in here, I would put them in the strongbox to try and get Emblem of Severed Fate or any artifact set that I really need. However, I only advise that you use this if A, you have an abundance of artifacts that you can willingly spare into the strongbox, or B, the artifact that you are farming is in a domain where you don't need the other set. Going back to my example about Raiden and Yoimiya, you don't want to be strongboxing your Emblem of Severed Fate artifacts when you know that you need Shimenawa's set. Since you need both of these artifacts and they come from the same domain, you might as well farm that domain because you get both artifact sets. At least that's what I've been doing, and it's been working pretty well because when I used to farm the Emblem domain, I only got Shimenawa's sets and I did not need it, which is why I started strongboxing them only so I can guarantee that I get Emblem. Now, if you are someone who really loves the gacha system and loves the aspect of RNG, there is something that I want to tell you when it comes to artifacts. Like I said before, the strongbox does not at all guarantee what kind of piece you get and whether or not it will be good. So if you're thinking of sacrificing a moderately good artifact to try and get a better artifact, do not do it. Just keep your moderately good artifact and you can raise it to see if it rolls in the stats you want, but do not put it in the strongbox because chances are you'll just get a worse artifact and it'll be a complete waste of your time and you're gonna have to refarm that artifact and it's going to spend a lot of resin and a lot of your time. So just to show you, I'm going to put in some artifacts in the Emblem of Severed Fate box. I'll just put in a ton of my bad artifacts with HP and defense and a lot of artifacts that I know I won't need. So I'm only going to do 12 for now just to save time, but let me show you what I get. So I'm going to confirm. And these are the artifacts that I got. Again, it does not guarantee the pieces, and it does not guarantee if they're good or not. This one, I got a pretty terrible goblet, also a pretty terrible flower, a sans I do not have any characters that need it, and also another sans that's practically the same thing. Like I said, this is only if you have an abundance of 5-star artifacts that you just need to try and get that one specific artifact, then use this. But if you are low on 5-star artifacts, do not use this. There are many other ways to get better artifacts, and the strongbox is not it. Okay, moving on to our next tip. So if your artifact inventory looks like mine and has a ton of artifacts that need to be looked at and leveled, I have a tip in terms of organization. So every time I run an artifact domain and I get a relatively good piece, I always lock it. If you scroll down in my artifact inventory, you will notice that I have a lot of locked and unleveled pieces. Number one, this is because I don't need to level them at the moment, but also number two, I check every single artifact piece that I get so that I can make sure which ones are good and which ones aren't. What I define usually as a good artifact is that the main stat is something useful and it has crit rate and crit damage, or if it is a goblet on the set of the character that typically uses it, such as if the goblet is an anemo damage bonus when the set is also anemo damage bonus. I will still lock this even though not all the substats are the ones I want, but it saves time in terms of farming so I can refer to this later in case I don't get a better goblet. This also helps a lot when you're building characters. As you can see here, there are a lot of feather options, but instead of manually looking and sorting through every single feather, I can look right away at the locked feathers because I know that those have relatively good stats, such as this one that already has crit rate and crit damage, and I don't need to scour through the other ones that are trash like this defense and HP artifact. Now, if you haven't been examining every single artifact, I highly recommend you start doing that now. You don't need to go back into your artifact inventory, but if you do come across an artifact that seems relatively good, it is a good opportunity for you to lock it there so you can mark it as a good artifact. Even though the artifact might not be useful, if it still has relatively good stats and you think you can put it on as an off piece for any character, it's still good to lock it just for organization. Such as this piece with a very good energy recharge sans with crit rate and crit damage as the substats. But as of now, I do not need this artifact on any person, so it's not the most useful, but if I ever wanted to put an off piece on a character, this is the one I'd probably use. With goblets especially, you will want to lock the ones that do have good main stats and substats because goblets are really hard to farm and it's even harder to get an on-set goblet. So this one from Marashase Hunter is a cryo damage bonus, and as of now I'm not building any characters that need a Marashase Hunter cryo damage bonus, but if I ever wanted this goblet on any character, it has all the stats that I want, so I don't have to go searching for an additional goblet with these substats. If you're still in the process of building characters, it's okay to have a random assortment of artifacts at the moment. Usually these are artifacts that have all the right main and substats, but they're not matching to any set, such as this with crit rate and damage, and then a dendro damage bonus, elemental mastery sands, and then attack plume, and then the flower. Obviously none of these are from the same set, but they do have all the stats that I want and they make my character usable. The way I found these artifacts was because they were already locked and ready for me to use, and it's just best that your artifact inventory is organized so that instead of farming a completely new piece, you can refer to the ones that are locked so that you already know you have that piece and you spend less time searching for that one singular artifact. If you also have a long list of artifacts that still need to be leveled but just haven't gotten around to leveling them, thankfully we have the new salvage feature where you can just put in your artifacts and get the EXP in return. The way I do this is that it automatically sorts which artifacts are locked, which are the ones down here, and the artifacts that are not locked, which are the ones higher up. Now normally I'd actually start from the 4-star artifacts, where I just select these artifacts that I know for sure I will never use, and you can just drag and select them so you don't have to click individually, and then I will just salvage them, and you can see here you will get this EXP. Now this form of EXP right here is so much better than just selecting every single artifact, and it makes leveling things so much faster. You can now just select the artifact EXP and it will take you many more levels than selecting every individual artifact will. And also it frees up space in your inventory, which is very helpful when you're doing domains in co-op, because you don't want to be rushing to raise an artifact or get rid of artifacts while the co-op game is active, which I know that happened so many times when my artifact inventory was full and I didn't have space for any new artifacts and I needed to quickly get rid of some old ones. But just remember that there is this new feature and it's really helpful, and I hope that you do make use of it. If you do need to get artifacts and don't know where to get them, especially if you don't have resin, remember that if you look around the map, there are places that have a one-time domain, such as this place right here in Sumeru, where you can get an artifact from this set. Now this is catered more towards low-leveled players, but just remember that this is an option if you haven't done all your one-time domains. Remember that you can also get artifacts from some luxurious chests and Shrine of Depths, so if you haven't unlocked all of those, there are still those options. Even if you won't really use that artifact, you can still use it as artifact EXP. But if you really are out of all your options, just remember that you can go around the map and find places to investigate so that you can get your 1-star artifacts so you can level up your 5-star artifacts or your other artifacts. You will see a ton of these investigate things where you can get just a singular artifact, sometimes 2 artifacts. This is if you are really desperate, and I don't normally do this because of how much time it takes just to get such little XP. Here's an example where I got 2 artifacts. They are all 1-star artifacts and do not really give you a lot. There are plenty of these places around the map, and if you want to mark them, go ahead and do that. But if you don't know where those spots are and don't want to just wander off aimlessly, here is how you can find those places. I would like to welcome you to the community interactive map. This is the map that I use to explore. As you can see, Fontaine is pretty much explored except for just a few chests. The ones in Mondstadt haven't been marked yet, and obviously Sumer Desert has a lot to go. And yes, the map is pretty intimidating, showing you all the locations for everything you need, but there is one thing that I do want to show you. So if you do scroll down into all the things that you can toggle on and off, as you can see I've toggled everything so that I don't miss a single thing, scroll down to guide and you will see artifacts and this little magnifying glass, and when you click it, it can be hard to see with all the things I have toggled on, so let me just hide the found markers for now. But when you click artifact, you will see these places pop up where you can go and investigate for artifact EXP. That spot I just showed you is right here, where there were 3 locations where you can go and investigate, as well as so many more along the area. What I like to do is zoom out on the map and just flash this artifact thing, and I see the most condensed area where I can go to. It seems to be this place right here in Sumeru, so I will just run over there from the teleport waypoint and glide down and get these. There are tons of places in the map where you can go and get these artifacts, so if you are at the point where you do need to go around the map and get your artifact EXP, the interactive map does help a lot. Just remember this is the community interactive map and not the official Genshin one. I love the community map so much. I've been using it for my whole Genshin journey. It has been pretty useful, especially with all the comments and pictures saying where everything is. Sometimes I love all the comments on local legends because of how hard it is, and everyone just posts these pictures of them struggling in the experience. But anyways, that is the interactive map. Use it if you need to. The link will be in the description so you can just access it from there. But yeah, that is for EXP. Anyways, that was it for the video. I hope you found something helpful and that I explained a few things for you. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments. I hope you found at least one tip that was helpful for you. If you'd like to recommend a video that you want to see or need a video guide for me to make, put it in the comments as well and I will get to it. I am here to support you on your Genshin journey, and any guide that you think will be helpful, I will definitely make it. Thank you all so much. Good luck on your pulls and your Genshin journey. I will see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day. Bye!